Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Test Vav Amud Aleph, 15a of Maseches Megillah. We're starting from the second to last line on the page. 2 words in. Haman has returned home after his first feast with Esther and Achashverosh, and he says to his family all the good things that he has, and then he tells them, "V'chol zeh einenu shoveh, this is worth nothing to me whenever I see Mordechai, the Jew, sitting at the gate of the palace." So Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Chanina, B'shah shera Hamar es Mordechai Yoshe b'shar HaMelech, Amar kol zeh einu shoveh. At the time that he saw him, he said, "All this is worth nothing to me." Kidder Rav Chisda, in accordance with the teaching of Rav Chisda, the Amar Rav Chisda says, Zeh ba biprozboli, v'zeh ba biprozbuti. This one came with his wealth, and this one came with his poverty. In other words, that Rashi gives the background, there's a medrash, that actually Haman was the slave of Mordechai at some point. Haman was starved for food, and Mordechai had food, and he sold some bread to Haman for Haman's life. This was an earlier episode, and so every time Haman, despite his technical enslavement to Mordechai, he had risen to this position. But when he would walk by Mordechai, he would be reminded of this. So Zebub Prosboli. This is why it really irked him, was he would see Mordechai and be reminded that Mordechai is rich and really owns him, and he is really very poor despite all that he has, because all that he has really belongs to Mordechai. And then on top of the next page it says, Amar Papa v'karule avda demizdaming b'tame. People would call him the slave who was sold for a loaf of bread. And so he carried that with him, and that's why it irked him so to see Mordechai. Now when he reports to his family, he says, all this is worth nothing to me. Now usually when it says zeh, it means there's something there that you can point to. So Melamed, it teaches Shekol Gnazav Shal Osa Rasha Chakukin Alibo, that all of his treasures were carved on his heart. When he saw Mordechai, he said, "Oh, this is not worth anything to me." So he had, I guess, like his ledgers that he would carry around, and he pointed to it, and he said, "All this is nothing to me when I see Mordechai." Another statement of Rabbi Elazar in the name of Rabbi Chanina. In the future, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be like a crown upon every tzaddik. Shenemar, as the pasuk says in Yeshaya, it says, "Bayomahu yeh Hashem tzivakos la'teres tzivi," and then it says tzviras tifara. So it says Hashem, on that day, Hashem will be like a beautiful crown and a splendorous crown or diadem. So, what does this mean? He'll be a crown for a beautiful crown, and a sfiras tifara, and a diadem, a splendorous diadem. La'osin tzivyono ulematzbin sifarto, to those who do his will. So I think it's learning out the word tzvi. So tzvi again can mean like beautiful or something, but here it's saying tzivyono, which I think can mean like his will, his command. So those who do his will, ulematzvin tzifarto, and those who await his splendor. So he will be like a crown. Tara to tzvi, to those who do his will, and sfira, tifara, he'll be sounds again like it's darshaning the word sphere, maybe to relate to matzbin, to wait, to those who await his splendor. Now, yachol lakol, now you might think it's for everybody. Talmud Omer l'she'er amo. The next words of the pasuk are to the she'er amo, and actually it's l'shar amo, which literally means like the remnant of his nation. But again, the Gemara darshans, like it says, l'mishem mesim atzmo kishirayim. She'er, those who make themselves like remnants. They make themselves like it's a statement of humility. Those who are humble, that's who Hashem will be like a crown and glory to them. And then it says in the next pasuk, uleruach mishpat. The whole pasuk, the next pasuk says, uleruach mishpat, the spirit of judgment, uliyoshev ala mishpat, to those who sit in justice, v'ligvura, and might, meshive melchama, those who return from battle, sha'ara, to the gate. So this is part of the list of, I guess, those who Hashem will be like a crown to. So it says, uleruach mishpat, he'll be, sorry, excuse me. The simple reading of the pasuk is it's another list. He'll be a ruach mishpat. He'll be like a spirit of justice to who? To Yoshev al mishpat, to those who sing in justice. The ligvura, he'll be a strength for meshive milchama, for those who come back from who go out to war to come back for more. That's, I think, the simple reading of that pasuk. But the Gemara is learning that it's all part of a list of people who Hashem will be a crown and glory to. Who are they? L'ruach mishpat, to those who have a spirit of justice. Ze'adares yitzro, that refers to those who are judge their ruach. They judge their own yetzer, their yetzer hara. Meaning they put up their yetzer hara for judgment. Rashi says kofeu lashu b'tshuva. They force themselves their yetzer to do tshuva. They put it for judgment, and I guess they pasking it. They rule on how it should be. And then it says, uliyoshev ala mishpat, and to those who sit in justice, zehadanting emes lamita, those are for those who judge true judgment, judge truthfully. V'li gvura, and for the mighty, ze'amiskabra yitzra, those are those who overcome their inclinations. Meshive milchama, those who return from battle. What kind of battle? Shenosin v'nosnim b'milchamta shaltara, those who go back and forth, give and take in the battle of Torah, to clarify Torah, to arrive at truth, at emes. And then finally, shara, to the gates, literally. Elu talmidei chachamim shemashkimim ma'arvim b'batei knesiyos v'batei midrashos, referring to the Torah scholars who wake up early and go to sleep late to be in the shul and the Beis Medrash. And the word shara from gates, meaning the people who open the gates and close the gates, those who come in first and those who leave last. All those on this list, Hashem will be a crown and glory. Okay, now the Gemara says, Amra midas hadin lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the measure of justice said before Hashem, Ribono Shalom, Ma nishtanu elu me'elu. Why are these different than these? Why are we'll see from the way that we have in our Gemara, it seems like it was asking why are the Jews judged differently than non-Jews? Amar la Kadosh Baruch Hu, Kadosh Baruch Hu said, God said, Yisrael asku b'Torah, because Yisrael learned Torah, u'mos ha'olam lo asku b'Torah, but the nations did not. So the Jewish people had, they elevated themselves through Torah, and the nations did not. They didn't have the opportunity. They didn't accept the Torah. Amar lei, so then the midah, the trait of justice said, Gam eila, and this is the next pasuk over there in Yeshaya. It says, Gam eila b'yayin shagu v'sheicher tohu. They also drank wine and erred through beer. And then the end of that passage is Paku Palilia. They stumbled in judgment. Says the Gemara, in Paku El Gehenim. When it says Pakwa, they stumble, it means they got Gehenim. Shenemar v'lo. This we had previously. This is where Abigail told David, this shouldn't be a stumbling block for you, something that causes you to go to Gehenim. So we see the word Paku relates to, from Puka, is a stumbling block to Gehenim. Vein Palilia ela dayaring. Palilia means judges. Shenemar v'nasan biflilin. That there the pasuk is talking about somebody who injures someone, and it says you have to pay. So b'flilim in judgment. So flilim is judgment. So the Gemara seems to be coming out that from that next pasuk that it even amongst the Jews it depends what a person does. A person who is b'yayin shago b'sheicher tov, a person is lives a life of drinking and therefore stumble. So they're also not going to have Hashem as a crown of glory. It's only those, as we said earlier, who do His will. Osin sivyono, lamatz ben sifarto. They do His will and they await His splendor. Okay. Back to the Megillah. So we're really now backtracking because we started with the pasuk where Haman says, "Chosein and Neshaveli, this is all worth nothing to me." That's actually after the first meeting with Achashverosh, the first feast of Achashverosh and Esther. But now we backtrack, and it says, this is when Esther is getting ready to go into Achashverosh for the first time to invite him to her feast. The pasuk says she stood in the courtyard, in the inner courtyard of the king. Amar Reb Levi says, Kivan she'giya lebeis hatzlamim, as she was walking there when she reached the house of idols, the idol room. So nistalka imana shchina, the shchina, Hashem's presence, left her because she was around idols. Amra, she said, Keli lama azaftani. My God, why have you abandoned me? So this is a pasuk in the parak Chaf Beis of Tehillim, which is Lamnatech Ayalas HaShachar. It's the parak that's attributed as a nevuah to, David HaMelech said it, but about Esther, and over there it says this pasuk Keli lama azaftani. This was her expression when the Shekhinah left her, when Hashem's presence left her, as she approached Achashverosh, and she said, Shema tadar shogeg kamezi, maybe you're judging me because you treat somebody who sins by accident like somebody who sins on purpose. Val ones karatzon, and somebody who sins against their will like somebody who sins willfully. I'm going to Achashverosh, and I will have to most likely perform an act of sin, but it's by force, it's not by choice. But how could you leave me? Oh, Shema shekarasiv kelev. Then she says, oh, maybe it's because I called him a dog. I think it's simply referring to that she called Achashverosh a dog. I think in the Sephardi translation I saw they say it's that she called Haman a dog. What's that referring to? Shenemar Hatzila mechayev nafshi miyad kelev yichidasi. So the pasuk there in that chapter of Tehillim, it says that she said, "Save me from the sword against my soul, from the dog, yichidasi, against my only one," or something. So she referred to him as a dog, again, either Achashverosh or Haman. So maybe that's why. Meaning, even though they're terrible, I think it makes most sense with Achashverosh. Even though he has this terrible decree, but maybe I shouldn't have called him a dog. He is the king after all. So Chazra v'karaso Aryeh. So then she went and she called him a lion instead. Shenemar, because it says, and this is the very next pasuk. Hoshieni mipi Aryeh, save me from the mouth of the lion. So in the previous pasuk she said, save me from the dog, and then the very next pasuk it says, save me from the lion. That was like her tshuva, that she corrected herself to refer to him more respectfully. Okay, now what happened? It says in the pasuk in the Megillah, "Vayikir Samelch es Esther hamalka." It was when the king saw Esther standing in the courtyard. She found favor in his eyes, and he stretched out his scepter to her, and she approached, and she touched the top of his scepter. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, "Gimel malachei asharis nizdamnu la ba'osa shah." 3 malachim came to her at that time. 3 angels. Echad shehigbia es tavara. One of them picked up her neck. She was bowed, and he helped her stand erect. Ve'echad shemasha chut shel chesed leh, and one spread like a string of kindness upon her, meaning made her desirable, graceful in the eyes of the king. Ve'echad shemasach es hasharvit, and one of them stretched out his scepter, so that even if he wasn't really planning to touch her with it, it touched her. V'kama, how much did it stretch? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, shtei amos haya, ve'amido al shtei mesrei. It was a 2 cubit scepter, and this angel came and made it 12 amos. The Amri Lal Sheish Esrei, and some say 16. The Amri Lal Esrim Ba'arba, and some say 24. B'masnisatana al Shishim, and there's a brisa that says it was 60 amos. It became 60 amos. V'chein atamotze be'amsa shel bas paro, and we find the same thing regarding the arm of the daughter of Paro, that it also stretched out. V'chein atamotze b'shinei rishayim, and you find this by the teeth of the wicked. Dichsiv, as the pasuk says, shinei rishayim shibarta. So this is that means you broke the teeth of the wicked. What is this from? This is from Tehillim Gimel, and it's David HaMelech referring to the following episode. Rashi explains that when the Jewish people were in the desert, so Og, the king of Bashan, the giant, he picked up a mountain and he wanted to throw it on top of the Jewish people, and instead he was holding over his head, and I think the Hashem sent like ants, that Rashi says, then they ate a hole in the mountain, and it basically fell on top of his head, and then and he wanted to remove the mountain from his head, and what happened was his teeth stretched out and like lodged themselves in the mountain, so he couldn't remove the mountain from his head. That's what Rashi brings down. So the Amar Reish Lakish, so that's where Hashem stretched the teeth. So he stretched Achashverosh's scepter, he stretched the arm of the daughter of Paro, and he stretched the teeth of the wicked. The Amar Reish Lakish, al tikri shibarta ela shrivavta. So even though it says that he broke the teeth, you can read it as shrivavta, which means he stretched them. Why would we read it that way? So I think Rashi explains, because there's something extra here. Shinei rishayim. It should have just said shein rasha, the tooth of the wicked, if it's referring to, I guess, this specific episode. Why does it say the teeth of the wicked in plural? Shinei rishayim. So there's an extra yud, and there's an extra yud mem at the end of the other word of rishayim. It should be just rasha. So yud mem is 10 and 40, that's 50. And shinei, the extra yud at the end, is another 10. So you have 50 and 10, that's 60. Teaching you that that they stretched 60 amos, and that's, I think, also a prompt to Reish Lakish to reread it as not shibarta, but rather as shrivavta. Okay. And then one more comment. Rabba bar Ofran Omar Mishum Rabbi Eliezer. Rabba bar Ofran said, the name of Rabbi Eliezer, Shama Mirabo, who heard from his Rabbi, Rabba Mirabo, and he heard from his Rabbi, Masayim, was 200 amos. Okay. Vayomer la hamelech la Esther Amalka, and the king said to Esther the queen, Ma bakasha seich ad chatzia machus v'seyas. what is your request? Up to half the kingdom, and it shall be done. So the Gemara says, Chatzia malchus v'lo kol malchus. He said you can have half the kingdom, you can't have the whole kingdom. V'lo davar shechotzetz l'malchus, nor something that divides up the kingdom. Umayniu binyan beis hamikdash. What would that be? That would be the building of the beis hamikdash. You can have anything except for the building of the beis hamikdash. I think that Achashverosh understood that if the Jews would be able to rebuild the beis hamikdash, then that would allow them to regain their sovereignty and maybe even take over his empire. So that would be giving away his whole empire. So that he said no, and also it's something that's chotzitz. It would break up his kingship. It would be right in the middle of his empire, and so that was the one thing that he would not allow her to ask for. Okay, the question that the Mefarshim deal with is why would he think that she would ask for it if he didn't know she was Jewish? Okay, but maybe he knew that she had Jewish connections. That was why he ruled it out. Okay, so what does she ask for? Yavo hamelech v'hamor al hamishteh. She says, let the king and Haman come to a feast that I am to make for him. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Marasa Esther shezimna es Haman. Why did she see that she invited Haman to her party? I understand she may not be ready to ask Achashverosh to save the Jews right this moment. Okay, the Mefarshim commentaries wonder why, but she wasn't ready. She wanted to invite him to a feast. Maybe get him a little drunk and then ask him. But why is she inviting Haman? What is Haman doing at this feast? So Rabbi Eliezer says, Pachim tamna lo. She set traps for him. She hid traps for him. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Yehi shulchanam lifneichem lepach. Your table will be in front of you like a trap. But basically, she wanted to entrap Haman by bringing him to the feast. He might slip up in front of Achashverosh, and that would help her bring him down. Or he might be so excited that she invited him that he would praise her, and that would elevate her in the eyes of Achashverosh, which would give her more credence to then make her request to save the Jewish people. Rabbi Shua says, Mi beis avia lamda. She learned it from the house of her father. Shenemar, imrav sona'acha hachileu lechem v'gomer. As the pasuk says, in Mishlei it says, if your enemy is hungry, feed him bread. And again, it seems that this was a way to entrap him. The Manos Halevi says that this opinion is saying that she sought kind of like there's an idea. You ask schoolboys for their pasuk, for a pasuk. What pasuk are you learning? And based on what they tell you, you kind of divine what you're supposed to do. And this was the pasuk that they told her, or she overheard them learning, or her messengers overheard them learning, whatever it is, and based on this pasuk, she knew what to do, which was to invite her enemy and feed him. He didn't want, she wanted Haman to be close, to be at the party, so that he wouldn't seek counsel and rebel. Meaning, I guess if Haman sensed that something was going on, and his plans might be in question, so he might arrange a rebellion against Achashverosh and be able to maintain his campaign against the Jews. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Kadesh lo yakiru bashi Yehudis. He didn't want them to realize that she was Jewish. If she invited Achashverosh to the feast, but not Haman, it might raise suspicions that she was Jewish. She wasn't ready for that yet. Rabbi Nechemia Omer Kadesh lo yamur Yisrael achos yanu mibeis hamelech v'yasichu daitam mi'arachamim. Rabbi Nechemia says she didn't want the Jewish people to rely on her and not daven. If they knew, those who knew that she was Jewish and that the queen was Jewish, they wouldn't daven as hard for their salvation, because they said, we have someone who can intervene. This way, she looked like she was abandoning them. She invited Haman to a feast. Now they would really daven. Rabbi Yossi Omer Kadeshi Matzila B'choles. Rabbi Yossi says he wanted, she wanted to make sure he was around. Again, maybe in order to trip him up, to get him to mess up before the king and entrap him. Rabbi Shimon ben Asya Omer. Rabbi Shimon ben Asya says, "Ulai yargish hamakom miyasa lanu nes." This would get Hashem's attention. Rashi has two ideas. One of them, though, is that Hashem will see. Look, I have to flatter the wicked to be able to attain salvation. That will awaken Hashem's rachamim, His mercy. Rabbi Shimon ben Karcha Omer. Rabbi Shimon ben Karcha says, "Asbir lo panim k'dei sheyahareg hu v'hi." That her plan was to make it look like she loved Haman, and that maybe she was having an affair with him, and she wanted to arouse Achashverosh's suspicions, and that way, maybe Haman will get killed. She might have to go with him, but that was worth it, because once Haman went, then the decree would be more easily rescinded. Rashi brings the idea that it would automatically be rescinded if Haman was killed, because since he was the one who made the decree, if he died, it would be rescinded. Although that's difficult based on the continuation of the Megillah, where Haman was killed and the decree was not rescinded. So I'm not sure how I square that. Rabbi Gamliel Omer, Melech hafach fechan haya. Rabbi Gamliel says the king was fickle. It wouldn't, if she ratted out Haman, but Haman wasn't there, so even if at first the king said, okay, we're going to kill him, but if it took time, then he might change his mind. So she wanted Haman to be there, she wanted it to be quick, and that's how it was. So that's why she made sure Haman was there when she revealed that Haman was trying to destroy her people. Amar Rabbi Gamliel then said, Adayin tzrichim anu lemodai. We still need the teaching of the modai, which is the Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer HaModai Omer, Rabbi Eliezer the Modai says, Kinaso b'melech, kinaso b'sarim. There's jealousy on the king, and his jealousy is on the officers. I guess maybe she wanted to make them jealous of each other. I'm not sure exactly what he's adding. Rabba Amar Lifnei Shever Gaon. Rabba said that the pasuk says in Mishlei, it says, before one breaks, Lifnei Shever Gaon, they're elevated. So this is the trajectory. The trajectory is that Haman should reach the highest places that he can come crashing to the ground. So the highest places, he'll be invited to this feast. Then he could then fall to rock bottom. Abaye and Rabba Damri Tarvayu. Abaye and Rabba both say, B'chomim ashis es mishteyen v'gomer. They quote a pasuk in Yirmiyah. The pasuk is talking about Belshazzar, that Belshazzar, the king of Babylonia, went to war, and when against Daryavish and Koresh, they were attacking Babel, and Belshazzar originally won, and they came back from battle, tired and hot, and they sat down to drink, and they got drunk, and then he ended up getting killed. I guess they made a comeback, Koresh, and they came back and killed him, and so you saw the destruction of Belshazzar came through feasting, so she said, we'll do the same for Haman. So that pasuk, Bechumam ashis mishteim, like in their heat, place them to drink. So So she had the same plan that it seems that their downfall might come through feasting, just like Belshazzar's did. Ashkechei Rabba bar Ravuah Eliyahu. Rabba bar Ravuah encountered Eliyahu Hanavi. Amarle Kiman Chazia Esther v'Avda Hachi. So which one was it? We just listed 10, 12 reasons why, some of them seem to overlap a bit, but why Esther invited Haman to the feast. Well, which one was it? That's what he asked Eliyahu Hanavi. Which one is right? So, Amarle Kikulu Tanai, Kikulu Amorai. It was like all of them. She had all of those things in mind. The Maharal, I think, says, what he's really saying is, she did it because that was Hashem's plan. And Hashem, may have given her reasons in her mind why to do it. These were all good reasons to do it. Whether she thought of them or whether she didn't think of them, it was Hashem guiding her hand, and that's ultimately why she did it. She did because Hashem guided her to do it. And all of these reasons were reasons why it made sense to do, whether she was conscious of them or not. I think that's the Maharal's idea. Okay, then Haman comes home after the first feast, and he tells his family, he starts telling over about the honor of his wealth and his many sons. Vikama, Rov Banav, how many sons did he actually have? It says that his multitude of sons. Amarav Lamed, he had 30 sons. Asara Mesu, 10 died. Those are 10 died in battle. Basara Nitlu, and 10 were hung. Basara Machazri al Psachim, 10 survived, and they were poor, and they then went around and they had to beg for money. V'Rabbanan Amri, and the Rabbanan say, Osan Shemachazri al Psachim Shivim Havya. There were 70 who went collecting door to door, that became poor and became beggars. D'chsiv Siveim Balechem Niskaru. So that pasuk literally means, this pasuk I think is part of the Tefillah of Chana. She says the Sveim, the satisfied ones, Balechem Niskaru, they were rewarded with bread, and the Gemara has a drasha. Al Tikri Siveim Ela Shivim. Don't read it as Siveim, but read it as Shivim, 70. 70 kind of got hired out for bread, and meaning 70 sons of Haman. So this, I think Rashi comments. Yeah, Rashi comments that Yonasan ben Uziel, the Targum Yonasan ben Uziel, on that pasuk in Shmuel, says that this was a prophecy about Haman, the sons of Haman. So 70 went to kind of hire themselves out for bread. They needed to collect food. Virami bar Abba Amar Kulan Masai Mishmona Havo. Rami Abba says there were 208 sons. Shneimar Virov Banav. It says the multitude, and the gematria of the word Rov, Reish 200, Vav 6, Beis 2 is 210. So, sorry, is excuse me. Sorry, is 208. Virov gematria. Sorry. So the Gemara asks, Virov b'gematria masan v'arbesarav, but the word's not Rov Banav. It says Virov Banav with a vav at the beginning. That's 214. So we should say there were 214 sons. Amar Nachum Amar Yitzchak Virov ksiv, without the vav in the middle. You're right, but there's no vav in the middle, so it's 208. Okay. Then that night, Balaylahu Nadadash Nasamelech. The pasuk says that night the king's sleep was awakened. So Achashverosh couldn't sleep. Rabbi Tanchum Nadadash Nas Malko Shel Olam. No, it's not Achashverosh, or not just Achashverosh. The king of the world's sleep was awakened. Hashem woke up from, so to speak, his slumber. Again, he doesn't sleep. But it was as if it was time to wake up and save the Jewish people. That's the interpretation of Rabbi Tanchum. Rabbanan Amri, the Rabbanan say, Nadadu elyonim, nadadu tachtonim. The upper ones woke up, the lower ones woke up, meaning, or couldn't sleep. Rashi says that the upper ones, meaning the malachim, were bothering Achashverosh, and they said, "You're a denier of good. You're a denier of good." Others say, Rashi says that, so meaning the upper ones awakened the lower ones, meaning the angels were keeping the lower one, the Achashverosh, awake. Others say they were awakening the people to davening, I think. Rava Amar, Shnas Hamelch Achashverosh Mamish. Then no, it just means he couldn't sleep. Why? Without the angels, without, it's not saying that Hashem was awakened, just Achashverosh couldn't sleep. Why? Because there was something on his mind. Amar, he said, why did Esther invite Haman? He had the same question. Why did Esther invite Haman to the feast? This was after that first feast, and she invited them both back for a second feast. Why is she doing this? Maybe they're in cahoots against me. Maybe they're planning against me. Da'u Gavra, of this man, to kill him. Meaning, maybe they're planning to kill me, Achashverosh said. Hadar Amar, then he said, if that's the case, there's nobody who has mercy on me who would tell me. If they're really plotting against me, somebody would tell me. Hadar Amar, then he said, but maybe the reason why nobody's telling me is because there's somebody who did me a favor, and I never paid him back. That's why nobody's revealing to me what the plot, because they think I won't reward them for it, because maybe there's somebody who I never rewarded for what he did. Miyad, so immediately, so then he asked, bring the book of Chronicles, the Divrei Hayamim, the Vayunikraim, and they were read before the king. Melamed Shenikraim Meilein. The Gemara says this teaches that they were read on their own. The grammar Vayunikraim, and they were read, sounds like the words came out on their own. But in any event, so he couldn't sleep because he was concerned. Maybe Esther and Haman were plotting against him, and nobody was telling him about it because they thought they wouldn't be rewarded, because there was somebody who did something for him that he never paid them back. So that's why he called for the book of Chronicles, to see, is there somebody who I still have an outstanding debt to, who did something for me, who saved my life. And of course he's going to discover that that's the case with Mordechai. To be continued next time.